Hello everyone, last time we were together, we basically said that we blow shofar from Bet Elul all the way through Kavchet Elul, not including Erev Rosh-Hashanah, to remind people to do tshuva, but we ended with a question, because that's the reason. Then why do we say David Hashem Ori afterwards? We should say all our davening prior, and then Acharat Tfilah, as the Rama says, you should blow shofar, so the last thing that rings in your ears is that reminder to do tshuva. The common custom is not like that. The question is, why? Says the Prisha, Yeshua Valk, since the shofar blowing is to do tshuva, we should have blown shofar only when we actually start slichos. And since we start slichos about a week before Rosh Hashanah, that should have been the time. That's when we really gear up towards tshuva. However, since we already blew on Rosh Chodesh Elul for its own reason, we don't stop, so we do it the entire month. I admit, it's an answer, but a weak one. We could have stopped and continued on the week before Rosh Hashanah. Therefore, I'd like to suggest another reason totally. We can't view shofar blowing just as a reminder to do tshuva. We have to view shofar blowing as a form of prayer. Namely, that we can pray with our lips, but there's a higher mode of prayer, and that is just to let out a sound and basically say, God, we're praying to you, you put it to where it should be. Or to be more precise, shofar blowing is an expression that's much higher than words, because tekiah is very happy, the shvarim or the trua is a crying sound, and we know that after the destruction of the temple, God listens to tears and not necessarily to prayers. From this perspective, the shofar is on a higher level than prayers. It's a form of prayer, but with tears. And I'll give a few proofs. One of them is, what should be the shape of the shofar? The Gemara in Masechet Rosh-Hashanah Daf Kavav Amud Bet says maybe it should be straight, and some people say it should be twisted. Why? Because what's better to daven before God? When you stand up straight, or when you bend your head? So should the shofar be bent, or should the shofar be straight? Obviously, the assumption of this machlokas is that shofar blowing is a form of prayer, and therefore they just ask, what's the better way to pray? Straight up or bent down? Number two, the Gemara in Masechet Rosh-Hashanah Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Bet says that the way to remember the order of the shofar blowing without a machzor is shalosh shel shalosh shalosh, 3 of 3 3. Explains Rashi, echad lemalchuyot, echad lezichronot, echad leshofarot. In the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, we blow shofar after malchuyot, zichronot, and shofarot. Why isn't it a hefsek, an absolute interruption? After all, in the middle of Sukkot, if you said Vatitedanu Hashem Elkeinu b'Ahava, Moadim l'simcha, etc. Chag HaSukkos Hazeh Zman Simchatenu, you would go and eat in the sukkah and come back in davening. Everyone would say you have to start from the beginning. It's a hefsek. But yet on Rosh Hashanah we do it not once, not twice, but thrice. We interrupt the Chazarat Hashatz and to blow shofar. Why isn't it an interruption? Because it blends in, simply because it is a prayer, not a prayer with words, a prayer with tears and a happy sound in and of itself. Number 3. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh-Hashanah Daf Lamed Daled Amud Bet deals with what happens if you hear 9 tkiyot in 9 hours. The halacha is it's okay. The Gemara then asks, how can it be okay? In Hallel and Megillah, Im Shah Kedei Ligmor Kula, if you had a long break enough to read the whole Megillah or to finish the whole Hallel, you have to start from the beginning. So how come with shofar you don't have to do that? Well, based on that question, once again the assumption is that shofar blowing is like Hallel and Megillah. It's a recitation, albeit without words, with sounds, and therefore it's a prayer. This will explain the shita of the Magen Avraham that says that if you have to stop blowing shofar because of an onus, something that happened that you didn't expect, say you have to use the facilities or whatnot, or all of a sudden there's a very bad odor in the room, then he says it's a total hefsek. Well, the Bigri Halacha says, why? After all, any mitzvah you do, you're allowed to do it in a place that unfortunately doesn't have a nice odor. You can wear tzitzis all day. The only time you can't do that is when you say the name of Hashem, namely in davening, Kriyat Shema, Birkas Hamazon, and Hallel, and Megillah. But we don't say the name of Hashem when we blow shofar, we just say sounds. Once again, the assumption must be that it's a form of prayer. Just like Tefillah and Birkat Hamazon and Hallel and Megillah. and therefore it subjects itself to the same rules and regulations regarding prayer. Based on all this, you can understand why we end shofarot on Rosh Hashanah with the words Shomea kol Tfurat Amo Yisrael Barachamim, just like we say Shomea Tefillah, because it's a form of prayer. Based on that, maybe shofar blowing has nothing to do with tshuva. Maybe shofar blowing has to do with we're adding a prayer beyond our regular prayers every day that has a higher level of prayer. It's an elevated prayer because it has in it total happiness, tkiyah, and total dima, total tears, shvarim and truah. If it's a prayer, then we understand why we say davening Hashem Ori afterwards. Just like on Rosh Hashanah, it blends into the service after Malchiyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. So too, in Elul, it blends into the service. Now you understand why you don't blow an Erev Rosh Hashanah kedei la'arbev hasatan, to mix up the satan. After all, you should have blown an Erev Rosh Hashanah. It's the longest recitation of Slichos. It has many, many prayers. We should have added this in because it's a prayer, above all prayers. But we have a side reason not to. Based on that, it makes sense to say the davening Hashem Ori afterwards because it blends in to the service.